Hey guys, today we are going to be writing a linear equation whenever we're given a graph. Our linear equation is still going to be in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, where m is our slope, b is our y-intercept. So those are the two things that we need to get from our graph today. So up on the board behind me, I've got our first two examples. On this first one, remember the things I'm looking for are slope and y-intercept. Whenever you're looking for the slope, if you go back to your steps from today, look for two places where it goes through exact coordinates. That's where the x and y meet. So if you're looking at graph paper, it's going to be going right through a corner, okay? On graphs, it's so important that we look for that exact point. Being close doesn't count. Close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. So we need to be making sure it goes through an exact coordinate. So whenever I'm looking at a graph, I typically go for the easy one first. I go for the y-intercept. And so y-intercept is that exact point where it crosses the y-axis. So as I'm looking here, right here is the origin, here in the middle. And so it's crossing at a positive 1. So I can write b equals 1. That's going to be my y-intercept. To find my slope, look for those two places where it goes through an exact point. So I can see that here, 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 here. Does it matter which one I pick? No, you just need to get two of them. Now then, it is important that we read our graph just like we would read a book, going from left to right. So let's pick any 2 points. Let's say I pick this one and this one. Well, how do I get from the left point to the right point? Using rise over run. So I go up and then over. How many units did I go up? Just 1. How many units did I go over? 1. So that means that slope is rise over run, and I went up 1 over 1, which simplifies to 1. So now I can write my linear equation. Y equals 1x plus 1, or we can simply put y equals x plus 1. And that would be our answer. Let's look at another one. I need two things here. I need my slope and I need my y-intercept. It really doesn't even matter which one you find first. So let's find slope first this time. I also notice something's different about this line as opposed to this line. This line was going uphill, which meant that I should have had a positive slope, and I did. This one, reading from left to right, is going downhill. So what kind of slope should that be? Negative, right? So let's pick 2 points. I see this one right here and this one right here. So count. Slope equals rise over run. So how many did I go down in order to get to this next point? I had to go down 2. Down is always negative, up is always positive. So I went down 2, right 1. So it was a negative 2 over 1, which tells me my slope is a negative 2. Could I have picked any different points in order to find that? Absolutely. Let's say I went from here to here, down 2 over 1. I would have gotten the same slope. Next thing I need is my y-intercept. So I'm looking for that exact point where it crosses the y-axis. Now then, if you zoom in really close on this, you can tell I'm still not good at drawing lines. So mine doesn't go exactly through on your worksheet. A computer did it, and so they're going to be going through the exact points. But right here, you can tell that mine is trying to go through the y-axis at negative 2. And so that means b would equal negative 2. So to write our equation, we get y equals negative 2x minus 2. That's our equation. All right? Give me just a second. I want us to do a couple more together. I tried to save as much of that graph as possible, but it didn't work out too well. All right. So our next example, we're going to start right here. Oh, I was using a flag. All right, so I was trying to hurry so this one doesn't look as good. But remember, whenever we're writing an equation, we need the slope, we need the y-intercept. So whenever we're looking for slope, we look for exact 2 points that it goes through. So for the purposes of this example, let's use this point and this point right here. So when I'm doing that, remember I'm going from left to right, rise over run. So if you'll notice, I'm writing that every time just so I can help get it in my mind. Rise over run. Slope is rise over run. So I'm going down 2 over 1, 2, 3, 4. So down 2 over 4. So down 2, right 4. Will this fraction simplify? And by simplify, I mean you can divide the top and bottom by the same number. So I can divide both of those numbers by 2, which would give me -1 over 2. That's the simplified version of -2 over 4. So there's my slope. I also need my y-intercept, that exact point where it crosses the y-axis. In this example, it's 2. B equals 2. So my equation would be y equals -1/2 x plus 2. It's okay to have fractions for your slope. You kind of want fractions since it's rise over run. Okay? One more. That's a lie. 2 more that I want to cover with you. In this next one, I'm going to leave this graph looking kind of busted like it is, because I don't need the bottom part of it. What if I have a line that looks like that? I still need a slope and a y-intercept. But this one's different. It's a flat line. So what do? Whenever I'm looking for my slope, I know that slope is rise over run, but is this line rising any? No, it's a flat line. So since it's not rising, that means it has 0 rise. So my slope is 0. But I can still see where it's crossing the y-axis. It's crossing right up here at 1, 2, 3. So my y-intercept in this case would be 3. So my equation, y equals 0x plus 3. Since there's 0 of them, we don't need to write that. We can just write y equals 3. And that's my equation. Likewise, let's say I'm going to draw one more graph kind of down here at the bottom in the middle. Let's say that I have this graph, and then my line looks like that. It's parallel to the y-axis. Whenever I'm writing an equation of a line in slope-intercept form, I typically need the slope and I need the y-intercept. However, does this one cross the y-axis? Does it intercept the y-axis? No, it never crosses. It runs parallel to it. We're going to learn more about parallel later on. But that means that it never crosses the y-axis. So its y-intercept isn't even 0. There's no y in this equation. It only crosses the x-axis. And where does it cross it at? Right here at 2. And so this equation is going to be x equals 2. Whenever you have a vertical line like that, its slope is undefined because you can't walk up walls. Whenever I think of slope, I think of something that I can walk up or walk down. I can't walk up walls. I'm not Spider-Man. And so this is an undefined slope, and you can only write where it crosses the x-axis. So that's finding slope from a graph. Go get them today.